In the bustling streets of Manila, where jeepneys roar and vendors call out in melodic rhythm, a quiet university freshman named Mara Santos began her semester like any other. But she had no idea that within a week, her life would be entangled in a secret larger than anything she had ever imagined. This documentary uncovers the unbelievable story of how an ordinary Filipino student discovered that her new classmate, polite, soft-spoken, and seemingly lost, was actually a runaway Thai prince hiding from the weight of his royal destiny. Mara was the type of student who blended effortlessly into the crowd. A scholarship recipient from a modest family, she focused on her studies and kept to herself. On her first day of international relations class, she noticed a new transfer student sitting quietly at the back. He introduced himself simply as Tawan, with an accent she couldn't place immediately. He spoke gently, avoided attention, and flinched whenever too many eyes turned his way. To Mara, he looked like someone carrying a burden heavier than the backpacks most students wore. At first, no one paid much attention to Tawan. Universities in Manila were full of exchange students, and he seemed no different, shy, polite, and always observing. But certain things didn't add up. He never joined group chats, didn't own social media accounts, and always arrived with a suited driver who dropped him off a block away from campus. Mara noticed he was overly cautious, scanning hallways before entering, and choosing cafeteria corners no one else occupied. His behavior didn't look like simple shyness. It felt like he was hiding from something. The turning point came during a group project. Mara, assigned as leader, had no choice but to approach Tawan. When she asked for his background to complete the project introduction slide, he froze. His hands trembled, his eyes widened, and his voice cracked before he finally said, "I prefer not to talk about my past." Mara didn't push, but the moment stayed with her. Who was this boy so terrified of his own identity? And why would he enroll in a public university in Manila if he clearly came from wealth? Over time, Mara and Tawan grew closer. They studied together at the library, shared snacks between classes, and exchanged stories, though Tawan's remained vague. Still, he appreciated Mara's lack of pressure. He often said, "You're the only person who doesn't make me feel watched." As their friendship deepened, Mara noticed small hints of refinement. The way he bowed subtly when thanking someone, how he ate with perfect etiquette, and his ability to speak fluent Thai, English, and even a little Mandarin. He seemed too polished for a regular exchange student. The university buzzed with rumors. Some said he was a child of diplomats. Others whispered he was a celebrity escaping scandals. But none of the theories came close to the truth. Mara brushed off the gossip, protecting Tawan's privacy. Yet one evening, when she found him trembling behind the library after receiving a mysterious phone call, she realized something was seriously wrong. His face was pale, his hands shook uncontrollably, and he whispered, "They found me." Mara didn't know who they were, but she knew it wasn't ordinary trouble. When she asked what was happening, Tawan broke down. He confessed he wasn't supposed to be in the Philippines at all. He had fled Thailand after being named the next heir to the throne, an announcement he claimed he never wanted. According to him, palace life felt suffocating. Every movement was controlled, every decision dictated. "I just wanted 1 year of freedom," he said. Mara thought he was exaggerating until he showed her an ID with a crest she recognized from international news, the emblem of a Thai royal family. Mara was stunned. The quiet classmate she had eaten fish balls with after class was, in reality, a prince. A real Thai prince. She felt as if the ground beneath her shifted. It was the kind of revelation you'd only hear in documentaries about lost royals and disappearing heirs. But here she was, standing beside one who had chosen to disappear into Manila's crowded streets. Tawan begged her not to tell anyone. "If they find me, I will lose everything I escaped for," he pleaded. Mara agreed, though fear gnawed at her. Word eventually reached campus that unidentified foreign men had been sighted asking for a Tawan. Panic overwhelmed him. He stopped attending classes, skipped meals, and barely slept. Mara, worried, visited his condominium, only to find him packing, convinced he had to flee again. She convinced him to stay long enough to explain. Through tears, he revealed that royal advisors and security forces were searching for him, determined to return him to Bangkok before the upcoming coronation ceremonies. I don't want to rule a country, he whispered. I just want to live. Mara faced a moral dilemma. Helping him hide meant going against a foreign monarchy. Revealing him meant betraying a friend. She decided to stand by him, not because he was a prince, but because he deserved a chance to choose his own life. She introduced him to simple joys she believed he had never experienced. Street markets, jeepney rides, midnight lugaw, and even karaoke. For the first time, Tawan laughed freely. He told her, "This is the life I dreamed of, one where I'm not a symbol but a person." But the search intensified. News reports quietly mentioned a missing high-profile Thai figure last seen near Manila. Anonymous posts circulated online containing blurry photos that resembled Tawan. Mara and Tawan avoided crowded areas and limited their time on campus. Every day felt like walking on broken glass. Still, Mara documented their experiences privately, conversations, fears, and victories, realizing she was witnessing history from the perspective of the runaway prince himself. One afternoon, their worst fear materialized. As they left the cafeteria, two foreign men in suits approached, asking students if they recognized a photo. Mara acted quickly, pulling Tawan behind a maintenance hallway. They sprinted toward the back gate, adrenaline rushing. For Tawan, the chase symbolized everything he hated about royal life: the loss of freedom, the constant surveillance, the absence of choice. He stared at Mara desperately, whispering, "I can't keep running forever." That night, Tawan decided to tell Mara everything, without holding back. He spoke of growing up in the palace, the pressure to remain perfect, the loneliness of royal expectations, and the burden of representing millions. He revealed how his older brother's sudden passing thrust him into a role he never wanted. "My family thinks duty is more important than dreams," he said. "But what good is a crown if it traps the person wearing it?" Mara realized he wasn't rebelling against Thailand, he was fighting for his identity. The next day, something unexpected happened. A Thai diplomatic vehicle parked outside the university gate. Word spread like wildfire. The search was no longer secret, it was official. Students whispered, speculating wildly. Some recognized the crest and connected the dots. Mara feared that time was running out. She urged Tawan to consider negotiating with his family, but he resisted, insisting they would force him into lifelong duties he wasn't ready for. His voice cracked as he said, "If I go back, I lose myself." Despite the tension, Mara and Tawan formed an unshakable bond. Their friendship became a sanctuary from the chaos. She helped him understand ordinary life, its imperfections, freedoms, and choices. He helped her see the world through different eyes. For him, Manila was not an escape, it was a taste of the autonomy he had long been denied. Mara began to understand why he risked everything to protect that freedom. In her eyes, he wasn't a prince, just a boy longing to breathe, but reality eventually intruded. Late one evening, while Mara and Tawan studied at the library, the lights flickered, and security guards rushed inside. Someone had tipped off the embassy about his location. As footsteps echoed closer, Tawan gripped Mara's hand tightly. She whispered, "Whatever happens, you are not alone." But before they could escape, officials escorted them outside. To Mara's shock, waiting for them was not an angry royal envoy, but Tawan's mother, the Queen of Thailand herself, standing with a grief-stricken expression. The Queen wasn't furious. She was heartbroken. She embraced her son tightly, tears streaming down her face. "Tawan, you vanished without a word. Do you know the pain you caused?" He stood frozen, torn between relief and fear. Mara witnessed a mother, not a monarch, pleading for her child to return home. But Tawan remained firm. "I don't want the throne," he said, voice trembling. "I just want to live a life where I choose my path." The Queen fell silent, surprised by his resolve. They moved to a private room to talk. Mara stayed outside, unsure of what would happen. Minutes felt like hours. When the doors finally opened, she saw a compromise she never expected. The Queen agreed not to force him into immediate succession. Instead, she offered him a temporary leave from royal duties on the condition that he return voluntarily after one academic year to reassess his future responsibly. It wasn't perfect, but it was the first time Tawan's wishes had been acknowledged. Before leaving the Philippines, Tawan insisted on saying goodbye to Mara properly. He thanked her for treating him like a person rather than a title. "You showed me the beauty of ordinary life," he said. "And that freedom isn't the absence of duty, it's the ability to choose it." Mara felt tears well up. She had expected him to vanish like a dream, but now he left with dignity and hope. Their friendship had transformed his destiny. Months passed, and Mara returned to routine university life, though she often wondered how Tawan was doing. Social media remained silent. Royalty rarely posted, but occasional news snippets hinted at palace reforms and discussions about mental health and autonomy for young royals. Mara suspected her influence reached far beyond Manila's borders. She realized she had played a small but meaningful role in reshaping a future king's understanding of freedom. One day, Mara received an international envelope with the royal seal. Inside was a handwritten letter from Tawan. He wrote about reconnecting with his family, attending royal duties with new perspective, and advocating for youth empowerment in Thailand. But most importantly, he wrote, "I have not forgotten the promise of living a life I choose, and you gave me the courage to demand that choice." Mara smiled, knowing their story had not ended. It had simply evolved. In his letter, Tawan also described changes within the palace. His mother supported his desire for balance. His advisors began allowing him to pursue academic interests, and he even enrolled in online courses to continue learning. He shared that he still dreamt of returning to Manila, not as a runaway prince, but as a free young man. His words carried a warmth that made Mara feel the friendship they built remained unbroken across borders. Mara kept the letter close, reading it whenever school became overwhelming. She realized that although their encounter felt extraordinary, it also reflected universal truths. Young people everywhere faced pressures, expectations, and the struggle to define themselves. Tawan's royalty only magnified these challenges. His escape wasn't about rebellion, it was a desperate attempt to claim his identity. And Mara's presence reminded him that life, stripped of titles and duties, was still meaningful. As the year progressed, documentary filmmakers and journalists speculated about the missing prince era, though the palace never confirmed details. Still, Mara knew the real story, the fear, friendship, and courage behind the headlines. She decided not to publicize it. "His life isn't a headline," she told herself. "It's a journey." She understood that protecting his story was an act of loyalty, one he had earned through sincerity and trust. Eventually, Tawan's leave came to an end. Global news outlets announced that the young prince had returned officially to fulfill his duties, but with a modern approach. He initiated cultural exchange programs, youth scholarships, and policies promoting autonomy for younger royals. To the world, he appeared as a progressive leader. But Mara knew these reforms were born from his taste of ordinary life in Manila, where he discovered who he truly wanted to become. Then, one morning, while Mara was crossing the university quadrangle, she heard a familiar voice call her name. She turned and froze. Standing there, wearing a simple shirt and jeans, was Tawan. He smiled broadly, saying, "I'm back, but this time with permission." The campus erupted into whispers as students recognized him from international news. But Tawan ignored them, waving shyly at Mara as he approached. "I wanted to thank you in person," he said. The university administration hosted an event honoring Tawan's visit, though he insisted on keeping it low-key. During his short speech, he talked about his year in Manila, describing it as the most transformative chapter of his life. He credited a dear friend who taught him what freedom truly means. Mara blushed from the audience as cameras flashed. He never mentioned her name, protecting her privacy, but their bond was clear to anyone who observed. After the ceremony, Tawan and Mara walked through the campus gardens like they used to. He told her that he would continue visiting the Philippines regularly to maintain cultural ties and friendships. "This country gave me the courage to challenge my destiny," he said. He promised that no matter where royal duties took him, he would always remember the girl who helped him find his path. Mara realized that while their worlds were vastly different, their friendship remained unshakable. As the sun set over Manila Bay, Tawan prepared to leave once more. He held Mara's hand gently and said, "Some people come into our lives like unexpected chapters, but they change the whole story." Mara smiled, knowing their journey would continue, even from afar. The runaway prince had returned to his responsibilities, but not as a captive, rather, as someone who finally understood the meaning of choice, identity, and genuine connection. In this documentary, we have explored the extraordinary yet deeply human story of a Filipino student and a Thai prince whose lives intertwined in the most unexpected way. What began as a secret unfolded into a tale of identity, courage, and friendship that transcended titles and borders. Mara and Tawan's story reminds us that even those born into power struggle with the desire to be understood, and sometimes all it takes is one person to help them find the freedom they seek. Thanks for watching.